Welcome back. Let's do another recap. In the last video, I made two browsers with some rudimentary avatar movement, and so I want to recap the work done so far. So we have this XRS class. It's a JavaScript class, and it's our main entry point into the space application. And an XRS has two main parts to it. It's made up of services and systems. Services are things that provide side effects. They are services. So some kind of storage facility, an engine to render 3D items on the screen, a broker to facilitate communications with WebSockets, a bus for in-browser communication with other pieces of code, and in the future, voice, WebRTC, etc. All these are services that are always there, APIs that we can use to create side effects. And in the case of the avatar movement, we have the engine, which provides facilities for listening to camera movement. So anytime we press the cursor keys or drag the mouse across the screen to turn the camera, we can get some position and rotation of the camera, and we just publish this straight onto the event bus. Here I have the code side by side here. This is in the engine, and we see that I'm creating an RxJS style observable. So anytime the camera matrix is changed, then we listen to that, and then we publish it on the XRS services bus under the topic, I guess, of head movement, pushing in the position array and the rotation array for anyone who wants to listen to it. So here, this arrow here is the engine is capable of putting things onto the bus. Then the bus offers subscriptions, so anything can listen to the bus, any of these topics, by subscribing to it. And that's where systems come in. So systems is another group of code which are more feature-oriented, more game-oriented. So we can have things like avatar or a transform, which is which is maybe listening to position and rotation and scale, or player health or enemy presence and positions. So in this case, for the avatar movement, we have the engine pushing position and rotation to the bus, and the bus makes it available to whomever. Here we have a system avatar that is subscribed to those messages on the bus. So let's pull up the avatar system. And in its init method, it's subscribing to XRS services bus head movement. So it was being pushed in, and here it is subscribing to them. And it's sort of throttling it by time for every 50 milliseconds so that we're not getting it as frequently as we could be, but we're getting it frequently enough, and we can tune this parameter. So here, about 20 times a second, it will send a command. So a command is kind of a message to another browser. Think of it that way. So we're generating this command, and we're sending the position and rotation, but we've tacked on this thing, which is the entity ID. And that's sort of the format of all commands, is that there's a subject, which entity, and then set some payload, and these are components. So the avatar subscribes to that internal message on the bus and produces an external message called a command. And we're putting that, so XRS send command internally. What this will do is it actually reaches the broker, since the broker service is what's responsible for communicating to other clients via the WebSocket, and it will forward that command out to the net, a server. Meanwhile, in the other browser, the broker is subscribed to external commands, and it will publish those commands onto the bus, and the bus will subscribe to all external commands and make them available on again to anyone who wants to listen to it. So here we are listening to the I created a special kind of function that says onSet, which means that whenever you get an incoming message with the avatar component set, then it will draw a box. So this will once again be received by the avatar system, and then since it receives that command, it will draw an avatar. So it both created the command for saying, hey, I'm moving around, and then its counterparts in other browsers receive that command and then draw a box. So that's how this system is working now. Now I'd like to make one improvement to this, is that right now this engine is publishing these messages right away. So as soon as that website is loaded, it is already, the broker subscribes to the channel by default, and the engine is producing messages on the bus right away. And I want some user action before this starts, because maybe I want to have a login screen, some authentication that says, hey, you've reached the right page, but you need to fill out a form to identify yourself or something like that. So we also need first user interaction in order to enable certain JavaScript APIs, such as being able to play music or being able to set focus to things. The user, it's useful to have the user click on the screen to do something, even if it's setting user preferences like your microphone levels, etc. So I want to show some kind of form. And in a Phoenix app, this being Elixir Phoenix project, we can take advantage of Liveview to create our menus. So I'm going to add a Liveview to this code base under lib web live. Under this folder, I'm going to create a new folder called space menu. And in here, I will add a new module, and we'll call that the index. And then I will just save some typing, and I will paste some code here. So this uses the live view, and once it's mounted, something will pass us member ID and space ID, and then we'll just set a value into the socket of entered false. So in the beginning we haven't entered, and we're also keeping the member ID and space ID, and this menu will not have any HTML layout. And then when we receive the event of enter space, then we'll just set the value of enter to true. So it starts off as false, and then we'll set it to be true. Then we'll create a template file. And in here, I will drop in some code for a very primitive type of modal. So this will cover the whole screen. So this has a full horizontal, and it just covers the whole screen, so you can't click on anything else but this modal. And here is just some placeholders, hello, and here's a button. And when you click this button, it will fire off a Phoenix click interspace, which is going to be this event, and that will set the enter to true. And since we've wrapped this to be entered false, when it gets set to true, all of this will disappear. At the same time, we can also run JavaScript on this button click to call an XRS entered method, and I just added that off screen, but here's our XRS code. And on this entered, I simply make a new message on the bus. So this bus now has this new topic called interspace, and I just push a true into it. And who should be interested in that? Anyone who wants to know if we click that button to enter the space. And maybe avatars interested in that. So avatar here can be interested to that interspace, and it can actually connect to the channel at that point. So in the beginning, we don't even have to be connected to the channel because we're not logged in. So we can talk to the broker services to create the channel, and this is when we connect to the socket and start listening to events. Prior to that, we're not listening to anything. And let's see how this will work. So over here, I'll just go over to my local host, spaces, and I will enter the space, and we don't see our modal yet. Let's see, are there any errors? Oh yes, in order to get these Liveview to show up, we need to drop something into the show template. So here we're kicking off the XRS initialize method, but to get the menu to show up side by side, let's just add a live render snippet. So this will specify the module of the Liveview and pass in some params, such as the space ID. So now if we reload this page, we have our primitive modal showing up, and when we click this, it will dismiss that. And over in the WebSocket side, we see that we do get an event that we set the avatar head, which is what happened when we subscribe to the interspace and we sent ourselves this message. So this is ability to show some kind of menu using Phoenix Liveview, interacting with a click that can both modify and remove the menu from the back end, from server side, but also at the same time talking to the XRS global object in order to send just JavaScript commands as well. So that says we entered the space, and that concludes this video.